Just to give everyone a little more of a detailed about our upcoming next year's course. This will be the last presentation for December. And in January, we'll start on the 5th, which will be a Sunday. So we'll have a few weeks off, a couple of weeks off, and then we will begin again. And it's interesting. We're just finishing up this week the final lesson in the pastime of Kaliya, chapter 19. I think, no, it's what chapter are we on? Chapter 16. And we're also piggybacking the description of the Kaliya pastime from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. So this is where we'll finish off. And then in January, when we pick up again, it's interesting that in Krishna book, which is our foundation for the study, the next chapter, 17, is titled Devouring the Forest Fire. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, the BBT has chosen to call it the history of Kaliya, because the whole beginning part of the chapter talks about about a little more about the history of Kaliya, how he ended up in the Jamuna, where he went back to after he was removed by Krishna. So it will be nice to pick up with a little bit of review on January 5th when we post that lesson. But for now, let us dive in to the end of the pastime. This is still December 2024. Lessons 3 and 4, finishing chapter 16, subduing Kaliya. Samapriya, can we have some readers, please?
Yes, Hare Krishna, everyone. Nice to see you here. This is such a special thing to be able to read the Bhagavatam with sincere devotees. It's just the top of the line. Let's start today with Acharya Ji. Would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 16, Text 44 and 45, Sarartha Darshini. Shukadev Goswami said, thus praised by the Naga Patnis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead released the serpent Kaliya, who had fallen unconscious, his heads battered by the striking of the Lord's lotus feet. Kaliya slowly regained his vital force and sensory functions. Then, breathing loudly and painfully, the poor serpent addressed Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in humble submission. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. After punishing Kaliya with the blows of his feet, Krishna immediately jumped down from his hoods and stood before the snake and his wives. Because his whole body was suffering from pain, Kaliya merely folded his hands with great difficulty, but he could not bow down on the ground before Krishna.
Why don't you read the next one, Acharya?
Okay. Canto 10, Chapter 16, Text 56 through 58, Sarartha Darshini. The serpent Kaliya said, our very birth as a snake has made us envious, ignorant, and constantly angry. Oh, my Lord, it is so difficult for people to give up their conditioned nature by which they identify with that which is unreal. O Supreme Creator, it is you who generate this universe composed of the variegated arrangement of the material modes. And in the process, you manifest various kinds of personalities and species, varieties of sensory and physical strength, and varieties of mothers and fathers with variegated mentalities and forms. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, among all the species within your material creation, we serpents are by nature always enraged. Being thus deluded by your illusory energy, which is very difficult to give up, how can we possibly give it up on our own? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Kalia said, when even learned men, though knowing it is wrong, become influenced by attraction and repulsion to sense objects, then what fault do I have? You manifest a variety of personal natures and species, various kinds of sensory and physical powers, and varieties of mothers and fathers with variegated forms and desires. By nature, I'm very angry. Therefore, how can I possibly give up this insurmountable Maya on my own?
Okay. Actually, the next slide is also Prabhupada's description of these same verses. So I was thinking maybe we should just read that and finish up with this, and then we can have a discussion.
Okay, Krishna book, 10th, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 16, 54 to 59. My dear Lord, I have been born in such a species that by nature I am angry and envious, being in the darkest region of the mode of ignorance. Your lordship knows well that it is very difficult to give up one's natural instincts, although by such instincts the living creature transmigrates from one body to another. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of material nature. But if anyone surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the modes of material nature can no longer act on him. My dear Lord, Kaliya continued, you are therefore the original creator of all kinds of modes of material nature by which the universe is created. You are the cause of the different kinds of mentality possessed by living creatures by which they have obtained different varieties of bodies. My dear Lord, I am born as a serpent. Therefore, by natural instinct, I am very angry. How is it then possible to give up my acquired nature without your mercy? It is very difficult to get out of the clutches of your Maya. By your Maya, we remain enslaved. My dear Lord, kindly excuse me for my inevitable material tendencies. Now you can punish me or save me as you desire.
Okay. Before you change the slide, Patti, it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of your Maya, right? So by your Maya, we are enslaved. Now go back to the previous one, please, previous slide. This first, why don't you read what the first verse that Kaliya says?
The serpent Kaliya said, our very birth as a snake has made us envious, ignorant, and constantly angry. Oh, my Lord, it is so difficult for people to give up their conditioned nature, by which they identify with that which is unreal.
Well, when I read this, my husband read it. We were just, it jumps out at you. Can you comment on that?
The way I was looking at it was I was thinking, this is me. That, Kaliya is saying for himself, and I was thinking, this is me. That although sometimes I may think, oh, I'm born human or I'm born America, which is, I guess some people say is a good thing. But actually, we're also born with these same, even if not a literal snake, we're born with these same materialistic tendencies and crooked tendencies. So I take it that his prayer is my prayer, or should be my prayer.
That's good. That's wonderful. That's humble devotee, but that's really okay. We want to discuss that further, but Nanda, did you want to say something?
Yeah, am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. When I read that, it struck me that there was something missing in Kaliya's explanation, because at least for me, maybe I read it too fast or whatever, but it just seems like he's putting the blame on Krishna in the sense of, I'm in a snake's body and you made snakes this way, but there's no identification that because of my past activities, being envious and this and that, therefore I had to take birth as a snake, and therefore it's my responsibility that I'm here. Did I miss something there or?
No, that you included something. You didn't miss something. You included something. That's definitely there. I was just commenting myself on how Kalia is even saying it is so difficult for people to give up their conditioned nature by which they identify with what is not real. And just say,
Yeah.
that is the fact. Now, we have to really be convinced that it's not real. And that's the Vedic scriptures. That's what we're studying here, to be convinced that this is not real. It's an illusion. We're attached to the illusion, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. But what you have said also, Nanda, that's in addition to that, I would say, very much.
Okay.
Anything else on that, Nanda? Because I like to hear what Acharya also.
No, that was the point that just
Good.
like shouted out at me.
Thank you. Acharya
Yeah, I also thought her point was great about taking responsibility. And, poor Kalia, he just woke up from being unconscious and, it's a short prayer. Maybe he didn't have time to fit everything in. Could you go back to the very first slide? There's something that I also found interesting there, that he's such a, poisonous snake and everything. But the way he's being described here, he's almost being described in a way to sort of arouse our compassion for him, that he's being described in, such a lowly way. And when we first heard he killed the cowherd boys and poisoned the lake, we may, hate him or have negative feelings against it. But now, a little compassion is being woken up for him also, because he's been beat up and he's suffering so much and suffering so much pain.
It's interesting when we see that Krishna is slamming someone in whatever way. Certainly it arouses our compassion, but it also has to arouse our knowledge. This is necessary. In fact, Kalia is the perfect example of what is necessary for the conditioned soul to awaken. And it is brutal. It is brutal. But we have to see this is an illusion. We have to take everything that we're reading and studying the Bhagavatam as serious and true. Otherwise, we are going to get slam dunked. And that's as much as I know about basketball. Just those two words. All right. So anyone else have something to say about it? Okay. Pati?
Like Acharya, I also really related with that concept that I've been forced into this circumstances. Of course, like Nanda said, take responsibility for being where you are. But the point I think he's making in his humility is that I can't undo this without help. How can a person undo the knots? When you're tied up, you need help from somebody who's not tied up. There's no way he can undo it. And I think that's what he's expressing, that it's also a bhav of surrender with a little bit different flavor. But I totally related with it because I know I'm not this body and have been studying that for such a long time, but still because of its power over I'm conditioned by it, by my whole experience in this false ego at this particular manifestation. And that will remain until the end of this body, no matter how advanced I get.
Yes, and we see that the way to become freed from this is basically by Krishna's mercy and the mercy of the pure devotee.
Who knows that Bhagavad Gita verse? This material nature is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders unto me. Anybody know the Sanskrit? 719.
You say the Sanskrit.
Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya dharatyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. One who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. We were also, just because last week, what was it? Last week, Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna to fight, to kill people, to kill his grandfather, to kill his cousin brothers, to kill his uncle. He's actually inciting him to do that. And at the same time, he's explaining that if you do this on my order, then there won't be any reaction. You won't suffer the sinful reactions for this action you're going to perform. So that's also a wonderful concept that each of us in our conditioned state has a particular way that we can function within it where it won't be continuously binding. It'll actually undo and loosen the grip.
Wonderful. Thank you. Manvantara, do you have something to say?
Does the wife or his Kaliya's wives, do they not count as someone to give knowledge about Krishna to bind him from that nature? I don't know the culture back then for the serpents and snakes and so forth, but I do have empathy for Kaliya because, like Acharya says, it does remind me of myself as well. But still, he has access to
Right.
his wives who are devotees.
Right. I think we either read that or will read that when he first saw Krishna and started to surrender, oh, this is who my wives have been talking about. He came to that realization that this is who, and they actually helped him. Only due to their prayers is what got Krishna's attention. You know, you said a pure devotee prays for you, you're in good hands. So they were devotees, and and Krishna heard what they had to say about him. And see, that's why we don't go directly to Krishna. We have the whole line to simply succession, our spiritual master. We go to Prabhupada, and then we ask, and he prays on our behalf. Very good. Let's go on. Thank you. Let's go on. Manvantara, would you like to read?
1 second. Acharya had his hand raised again.
Okay, Acharya, sorry, sweetie. Go on.
That's a beautiful point, and just came to mind was like the Yagyapatnis were also saved by the prayers and surrender of not the Brahmanas were saved by the prayers and devotion of their wives,
Right.
and Indra was saved by the prayers and devotion of the heavenly cow who inspired Surabhi, right? Who brought him and told him to pray to Krishna, and also just like the Nagapatnis, she offered her prayers first, I think. So, and you think you could probably think of other instances like that, but I like that idea.
Interesting that the wives and the cow, which is mother, and all of these females have to pray for the trouble that their husbands get into. Just saying, not
Actually, while we're all speaking about prayers from others or by others for another person's benefit, we shared last week that Faye was going to have a very intense operation. We said a Hare Krishna Maha Mantras for her, and fortunately, everything seems to have come out quite well. She's already up and out of the ICU, sitting in a chair, receiving physical therapy, starting to make sounds. She had a jaw operation. So thank you for all of that. Everyone's prayers. Acharya? Oh, just a thumbs up. Great.
Just giving a thumbs up to that news.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okie doke. So let's go on with Manvantara ji. Would you like
Thank
to
you
read?
for sharing that update on
Mhm.
Faye. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Actually, you know what? Nanda referred to her as Bhakti and Faye. So I told her that, and she thought, I sent word through Neil, and she started to cry. So let's call her Bhakti and Faye. I think after 20 years it's been since she's been in our classes.
Absolutely.
We also have Bhaktin Tisha and Bhaktin Caitlin.
Yes, that's it. We're devotees, so that used to be like that. As soon as you walked into the temple, you were a Bhaktin or a Bhakta.
Bhakta Ian.
Bhakta Ian. Yeah. Well, we're filled with the But since we're intimate with each other,
Incidentally, sorry, Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare
Haribol.
Krishna.
So I'm not back yet anymore.
Oh, you're
Oh,
initiated.
I was planning to tell you, I'm Taku Murari Das.
Thakur Murari.
Thakur
Hare
Murari.
Krishna.
Wow.
Very nice.
Right.
Wonderful.
Thakur
I was planning to,
Murari.
Right.
I was trying to say, when would I put it? But now I have to
Perfect
put it.
timing.
I put it. Yes, sir. Taku Murari Das. So I put it.
Haribol, congratulations.
Congratulations, of
Thank you.
course. Wow, I'm so happy. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Maybe what you can do after this week when you go into your Zoom account, you can put Thakur Murari on this little, because we always see Ian
Yes.
on the posting. That would be wonderful.
Yes, I
Thank
do
you.
that.
Congrats. Who's your
Thank you.
spiritual master?
Deva Mr. Swami.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
And
Good
I
for
was,
you.
and I was initiated at Gita Nagari.
Oh,
Really?
yeah, wow, wonderful.
Yeah. Yes.
Good
Yes,
for you.
congratulations.
Is that a recent
Thank
thing?
Sorry, it's
Recent?
2017. Sorry for keeping you guys in the dark. 2017. Sorry about that.
2017. Are you
Yes.
kidding me?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Change that Zoom.
Sorry for keeping
Wait a
you in the
second.
dark.
What? I'm confused.
2017.
2017, Prabhu. Sorry about that.
You were initiated in 2017. Well, why you were keeping it from us so long?
That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Okay, thank you. And now-
But Samapriya is saying, boy, this Bhakti Ian, he really knows a lot for a person that's.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so let's go on, Mamtarji, with your reading.
So,
Uh,
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Okay, so Sarartha Darshini, corresponding with the Srimad Bhagavatam, text 60. Sukadeva Goswami said, after hearing Kaliya's words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was acting the role of a human being, replied, O serpent, you may not remain here any longer. Go back to the ocean immediately, accompanied by your retinue of children, wives, other relatives, and friends. Let this river be enjoyed by the cows and humans. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. To punish the powerful serpent Kaliya, which Brahma or Shiva would find difficulty in doing, Krishna easily did just that in a human form. I should say human boyhood form. Krishna did not employ his kach or disc for this act. The word karya can also mean pastime. Thus, karya manusa can mean he who takes a form for a human performing sweet pastimes, or karya manusa can mean Brahmin, which takes the form of a human, or karya manusa can mean the Lord who performs activities among humans. Krishna addressed Kaliya, you must go back to the ocean along with your children and wives, because the cows and cowherd men use this Yamuna River and its banks filled with grass, leaves, and fruits. Thank you for pulling that up.
Okay, I'm a little confused about how to organize this one, going from books to books. So, but I want you to comment on this.
Krishna chastising Kaliya to leave?
What you just read. You want to put it back, Patsy?
Yeah. So Krishna is just giving him instructions that he can't be there because of the poison that's emitting from his form, being a serpent, and it's not an auspicious environment for that. It's not the environment for that type of personality or
Right.
or you know what I mean, because the brahmanas do their yagya, nobody wants to be fearful in serving Krishna, so
Right.
he had to leave to an appropriate place.
Well, in that case, he has to be acknowledged that just his body itself is poisonous.
Yeah.
But my husband had mentioned he was told to leave. Don't ever
Yeah.
come back here. That's heavy. Krishna says, go and don't ever
Yeah.
come back. Usually Krishna, we wanted to say, come and never leave.
Yeah, yeah,
But he is saying, go and never come back. That's pretty intense instruction.
Yeah, it depends on the mood because Lord Shiva did the same thing. Well, not same thing. Like he wanted to join the Rasa dance, or he had some information wanting to do that, and he couldn't go. You know, he had to change his form, and then to be a female or something, and then
Don't be smart.
yeah, and then he couldn't really enjoy the Rasa dance because it wasn't his mood. You know what I mean? So he had to leave, and he didn't feel. You know, they engaged him in some other service, like guarding the
Right.
perimeter.
Because actually Krishna didn't really want him to leave. That was a whole Rasikic thing.
Oh, okay.
But being a conditioned soul as I am, I was feeling, oh my God, he told him to leave. That's pretty intense, you know.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We have to see each case differently, and certainly Lord Shiva's position is most exalted. So if he appears, he had to change his ras rather than being the most beautiful gopi. He had to be the guard at the door. That was a little bit change of ras. Ian, you see, Murari Thakur.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And you get used to it. So I just quickly comment on that first line there where Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they are very powerful personalities. They were saying that to punish the powerful servant Kaliya, Brahma and Shiva wouldn't find difficult in doing. Krishna easily did just that in a human form. So we're saying that although those demigods are powerful, Lord Krishna, for the past time, did a human form, which is maybe significant.
Right, he's much stronger in a little child's form.
Yes, and also, because those personalities has to be subdued or liberated by Krishna's pastimes, then the demigods, those aren't able to do anything about those personalities. Like Kali, yes, it had to be Lord Krishna who, would
Right, they can't interrupt his. They can't interrupt his pastimes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying yes. For example, we know Garuda is powerful too, but we are saying that in the past time, Lord Krishna is the one that does those activities.
But even though Krishna is the most powerful, more than Lord Shiva and Brahma. I mean, he's.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Acharya, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I also find it interesting that Krishna accepted Kali as a surrendered soul and gave him great mercy, even though his sins were so incredible, and based on the principles of Apichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mamananyabhak. But at the same time, he still had to accept consequences for his sins, for his bad behavior. Good. Even though Krishna accepted him now as a devotee, right. But still he had consequences he had to embrace and take responsibility for.
That's interesting because he did have a body that was dangerous for other living entities, that was dangerous for his devotees. And even though he was a devotee, he still had that poisonous body. What a precarious situation, right? So if we're feeling that our presence is detrimental for someone else just because of a physical body thing, then that's a good example to follow, to not agitate other people's minds. I don't know. We try to somehow or another apply whatever we're hearing and in the Bhagavatam to our lives. Chaita, did you?
Hari Bol, Danava Pranams. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate that remark, Acharya. I'm thinking about Vritrasur, who's in the most abominable body, but he's someone else's. Can you hear me? He's the enemy of Indra, Vritrasur.
Yeah, but he was a far out enemy. Of course,
Yeah.
he was a king, Chichiketu. He was King Chichiketu in his previous life, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But what a great enemy. He was saying, Indra, you don't know where it's at. This is he was amazed. He was preaching philosophy that Indra was not properly situated, right? Because he
Right.
was desiring material things.
Yeah, but what an astonishingly his body was
Yeah, that was pretty astonishing.
horrifying. It's an
It's
amazing.
illusion, and that goes back to the first verse. That what was it, Acharya? I told you to read it twice. That how the illusory energy. We're bewildered by illusory energy. Where is that? The first way
Devi
first
Shagunamai.
here. Oh my Lord. It is so difficult for people to give up their conditioned nature,
Yeah.
but which they identify with that which is unreal. Can
Devi
you imagine?
Devi Shagunamai.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. That is embarrassing. We
We-
should
we-
all be pretty embarrassed.
We can't do it alone.
We can't do it alone. But we can't do it alone, and it's embarrassing that we are illusioned by that we are illusioned by illusion. We're in illusion, and we have big wars about our relationships based on illusion. Okay, Tisha, would you like to read? Thank you, everyone.
Yes, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Mm.
Okay, Sarata Darshani, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:16, verse 61 through 63. If a mortal being attentively remembers my command to you to leave Vrindavan and go to the ocean, and narrates this account at sunrise and sunset, he will never be afraid of you. If one bathes in this place of my pastimes and offers the water of this lake to the demigods and other worshipable personalities, or if one observes a fast and duly worships and remembers me, he is sure to become free from all sinful reactions. Out of fear of Garuda, you left Ramanika Island and came to take shelter of this lake. But because you are now marked with my footprints, Garuda will no longer try to eat you. That's a relief. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. Kalia said, may my fame of being punished by receiving your feet on my head remain as long as the sun and moon endure. Because Krishna says here, you will no longer have fear of snakes. This verse should be considered a mantra to ward off snake bites. There is another mantra which can also be recited like a spell to protect one from snakes mentioned in the Agveda. Garuda, the bird carrier of Lord Narayana, came to visit the lake in the Yamuna. One need no longer fear the bites of Kaliya nor his deadly poison. The Lord who protects Vrajabhumi has made Kaliya harmless.
Mm.
So if he's harmless, why is his body still poisonous?
Who can answer that? Tati?
Probably the snake, the bite, is he still emanates poison. From one level, we were just talking about how the nature of his body was that poison emanated from it and poisoned the whole waters and everything like that. And because the boys and the cows and the different animals wanted to come there, and it was the banks of the Jamuna, not an appropriate place. Comment, Acharya?
Yeah, a couple of little things about that. If someone has cancer and they become a devotee, it doesn't mean their cancer is going to disappear necessarily in a day.
Okay.
So the idea is that is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Nectar of Devotion, that there's different kinds of karmic reaction, from the very subtle to the grossest, and the grossest is your actual bodily constitution. And devotional service removes all of those, but the bodily constitution is the last one to be removed. So whatever your bodily situation is, even if you're surrendered and become a devotee, it may not be
Wait a
removed
minute.
till
I
the
have
end
a
of the life.
question. I have a question, Acharya. Your bodily constitution is the last to be removed? I thought it was your mental constitution.
No,
Uh,
he's saying, go ahead.
I'm, my memory, if my memory is correct, it's the bodily is the last to be removed because your
In it.
body doesn't
in
necessarily
it.
change from devotional service. There's the
Right.
Kuta Bija, and then I forget the Sanskrit Prarabdha and Aprarabdha.
Right.
And if I remember from Nectar Devotion that the desire for sense gratification in the heart is removed first, but the bodily
Right, you have-
reactions, which are results of past lives, may not be changed until the end of the life.
Right. You're in
So
the body.
Yeah, so Kaliya has a body through his sins or whatever was the cursing of the sages. He got that body, so he has to endure that for some time more,
Right.
even if his heart has changed.
You know, another very practical example could be if you have, let's say, if you have COVID, you have to quarantine. It's a disease of the body. You have to understand. Oh, you can't think. Well, I'm a devotee. I want to go to the temple no matter and associate with devotees no matter what my physical condition is. That's not.
Yeah, just like Kaliya had to
Intelligent.
deal with it practically by being banished. So
Practically good.
yeah, nice
Very
point,
good.
Mother.
Good.
Good.
That's very clear. Thank you. Okay. Tisha, did you want to say something about this since you read it before? Oh, we're going on already.
Oh, that's
But I
okay.
wanted to give you a chance to speak.
Oh, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Thank you. Kate, you want to read? Caitlin? Can you read?
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Morning, dear devotees. Krishna book Srimad Bhagavatam 10:16, 64 through 67. Anyone who hears the narration of the Kaliya serpent and his punishment will need fear no more the envious activities of snakes. The Lord also declared, if one takes a bath in the Kaliya lake where my cowherd boyfriends and I have bathed, or if one fasting for a day offers oblations to the forefathers from the water of this lake, he will be relieved from all kinds of sinful reaction. The Lord also assured Kaliya, you came here out of fear of Garuda, who wanted to eat you in the beautiful land by the ocean. Now, after seeing the marks where I've touched your head with my lotus feet, Garuda will not disturb you. The Lord was pleased with Kaliya and his wives. Immediately after hearing his order, the wives began to worship him with great offerings of nice garments, flowers, garlands, jewels, ornaments, sandal pulp, lotus flowers, and nice edible fruits. In this way, they pleased the master of Garuda, of whom they were very much afraid. Then, obeying the orders of Lord Krishna, all of them left the lake within the Yamuna.
Okay. So that wonderful verse, that the statement that the Lord is saying to Kaliya, that he doesn't have to fear Garuda anymore because the Lord, he doesn't have to fear Garuda because the Lord, Garuda will see the markings of his feet on his head. So please tell me something about that. That is, how can we relate to that in our lives ourselves?
Well, if we're able to view our situations as, results or perfect, no matter what they are, because we are able to, practice devotional service, we're in these bodies, whatever, if he handles me roughly or if I'm rewarded with, a nice life and nice things, we have to remain, detached from that.
Right.
And Kaliya got the most, he was, like you said, Mataji, he was hammered, or what was the language that he used? But he was actually very fortunate because he had that experience with Lord Krishna, direct experience.
And he was wearing the sign of Krishna. He was wearing the sign of Krishna on his head. Can you imagine? Because even Prabhupada was talking about, when we wear tilak, we wear kuntimala, we wear the signs of Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna. People come and they see, oh, that's a devotee. Even around in Alachua, people know devotees. They see devotees and they relate that we are devotees. We have the sign of a devotee, and it's such a wonderful thing to wear that sign because that's preaching. That's not really. I wouldn't mind that sign embedded into the head, Krishna's lotus feet. You know, that's
There's a
and we're
nice
all
me-
getting.
there's a nice memory on YouTube. I think it was Nanda Kishore, one of the devotees that was with Prabhupada in the early days, and somehow or another he wasn't wearing neck beads. And Srila Prabhupada asked him, "What happened to your Kantimala? Where is your Tulsi beads around your neck?" And he said, "Oh, they broke, Prabhupada. I haven't had a chance to put them back on." And Srila Prabhupada said, "If you knew what would happen if you died without them, you'd immediately put them back on." Because
And also-
just as Kaliya, he's assuring Kaliya that you'll be protected from Garuda. He will no longer come there because he'll see my footprints on your head. So similarly, one who wears Kantimala, the messengers of Yamaraj said, don't pick up these people and bring them here. No need for them to come to this court.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Nandaji? Thank you, Fati.
Well, I have a question about this relationship of Kaliya and Garuda, because here it was just saying how Garuda won't be inimical toward you. He won't bother you now that he sees my footprints on your head. But actually, why was Garuda inimical? Was because Kaliya was taking what was meant to be offered to Garuda. Remember, that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was how it started. It wasn't like Garuda was out to get Kaliya for no good reason. Kaliya offended, he broke the deal. The deal was they would offer a snake under a tree, and that way Garuda wouldn't harass everybody. And Kaliya thought, what? Who's Garuda? Anyway, just an interesting.
Well, it seems to me that by seeing the lotus feet imprinted on Kaliya's heads, Garuda would understand Krishna took care of him and purified him, and he's not going to try to eat my offerings anymore.
Yeah.
He got plundered. He got it. I mean, Krishna really has to dance hard to make his imprint on the head of a snake. Hare Krishna.
Nothing's hard for Krishna, Sama. He could just do
Nothing's hard. You're right. Nothing's hard. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Okie dokie. And now we have Murari Thakur. Which one is it?
The other way, Thakur Murari.
Thakur
Murari. Okay. So a quick comment. What is it that Kaliya would have done so that he got so much mercy? First, he got, the body. I remember last week you gave some pictures of snakes with different number of heads. But we're saying, what is that Kaliya would have done to get so much heads and so powerful? Also the Lord himself came and danced and left so much imprints on Kaliya's head. Whilst he's just saying that great personalities are requesting just have the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, and Kaliya get all of the Lord that's on his head. So what is it that Kaliya would have done to get one mercy? That's a
But
question.
you want to tell that story?
What story? There's no story. As far as
The
I remember,
backstory.
as far as I remember, and last week or the weeks before's purports, it was described because the Nagapatnis asked the same question. How is it possible that he's getting this dust from your lotus feet? Even the goddess of fortune spent centuries performing austerities. And then in the purport, there was no answer directly by Krishna, but in the purport, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur said, this is what mercy means. It was Krishna's mercy. No backstory was revealed.
Well, what about what Acharya was mentioning or we were
With the
discussing?
curse?
No, with the wives. I mean, the wives were devotees.
But they were he was kicking his head before they prayed for him.
But that didn't mean they weren't devotees. They
No,
were devotees.
but
And they were, and he had been hearing about them. He had been hearing about Krishna. He said, "Oh, this is who my wives are offering things to. This is my." Didn't it say that in the text?
Why such mercy for that? Just because they knew that.
You get the blessings of your devotee. You get someone praying for you. You get Even us conditioned souls, rascals, our whole family is getting benefit from us being devotees. What to speak of
We're
Kaliya
not-
and his wives?
But we're not getting Krishna's feet on our head like that.
Well,
That was extremely unique. I think
it
that's the
was-
question. Why?
Oh my goodness, you're right. Hare Krishna. So, what's the answer?
Mercy.
Oh, that's good. Inconceivable mercy.
Let's go on.
Okay, we'll go on. Okay, Thakur, it's up to you. Murari Thakur.
Thakur.
Thakur Murari. You gotta excuse me.
Yeah, okay, it's okay. Either will do. So Srimad Bhagavatam 10:16, 63 to 67, Sarata Darshini. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. Clear said, although I am the most sinful, you gave me the most mercy. You have not put your foot on others' heads and marked them with your disc and conch. With great respect, I, along with my wives, will offer you cooling sandalwood pulp from my hand because your body was burned by the poison from my fangs. End of quote. Krishna replied, but applying these ointments will take time. Claire said, then please sit, my lord. End of quote. After making Krishna sit down, Kaliya and his wives applied sandalwood to the Lord's body. Fulfilling their heart's desire, Kaliya and his wives attained the mercy of the Lord and then left the Yamuna. This is described in 2.5 verses. Without anyone's notice, Krishna made his Kaustubha gem enter Kaliya's treasury. Then at the time of worshipping Krishna with different jewels and ornaments, Nagapatnis, unaware of Krishna's transcendental trick, offered the Kaustubha gem to him, thinking it was just one of their own jewels. Srila Rupa Goswami as follows. The Lord had made his Kaustubha jewel enter the serpent's lake, and then he arranged for it to be presented to himself by the hands of Kaliya's wives. End of quote. The Puranas state that in a different kalpa, when Kamsa orders Krishna to come to Mathura for a wrestling match, the Lord sometimes goes there, Siddha and Kaliya. The phrase Krida Manusha Rupina means that Krishna eternally manifests a human-like body for relishing playful pastimes. By Krishna's touch, Yamuna became free of poison and filled with nectar. Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So what about offerings to Krishna? Offerings to Krishna. Wait, what would
Yes.
could
So-
you put it back, Patty, to the words for a sec. So yeah, how can you explain that? Offerings to Krishna. We think that we're doing something, but who's really arranging that we offer it to him? Can't even offer anything to Krishna without his mercy, without his arranging for that. Seems. Can you comment on that?
Yes. Yeah, we see this because I was wondering too when I first read it, stories many years ago. So where did they get these offering? I'm saying that, they were in the water, they were snake, other than so where did they get so many different gifts? Sandalwood,
Oh,
this and that, and you were saying that the Lord made the Kaustubha gem, saying, I'm not saying Kaustubha gem, but the Lord's, permanent adornment. But the Lord made it enter in there. So we're saying, wow, you know what I mean? Krishna pastime is so unique.
Yeah.
So we're saying, oh, did they get so much stuff to offer? Yes.
Well, and there's jewels in the ocean.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I remember now. Yes, they were saying that in those years, past kalpas, these things were sort of very profuse. It was there, so it was not hard like for us now to get them. So it was easy to get those stuff. But I'm saying, the Lord, they made the Kaustubha gem, so they would
Yeah.
look like they offered it. So,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So he wanted to have that exchange with the Nagapatnis, that they could offer him his most precious jewel. That's a very nice benediction. And so that was a blessing for them. But it reminds me how even if we bake something nice for Krishna or we find some flowers, or he's arranging that we have the facility to offer things to him. And so like we're like babies, and he's giving us so much facility to be devotees and please him. We are so dependent on Krishna. It's just another example.
That was a nice explanation. Caitlin wrote a forum wondering if anybody had any other realizations. Sama just shared hers. Did anybody else have anything else about that Kaustubha gem? Because that's also how I thought it. He arranged it so that they could offer it back to him, and by that offering, he became pleased, even though he made arrangements. And Sami, you just pointed out, he's making arrangements for everything to be offered him. We can't acquire anything without his sanction. Chatamai? And then Tisha?
Hare Krishna, yes, Dhruva Prabhu, I agree. I think it's Krishna wanting to give something absolutely outrageous that they could offer to him, because they realize that the offense is so strong and outrageous. They've got to do something to compensate. So nothing will compensate except this astonishing jewel.
Still a jewel. Tisha, thank you. Thank you, Jita.
So I thought that the sincerity of them, of the Nagapatnis, to pick the most brilliant jewel, because you know how sometimes you make an offering, well, sometimes maybe some people won't pick the very best thing to give away. You know, they might say, well, I'll give this one and I'll keep this sponge for myself and I'll just give this cookie, you know, something like that. So I admired their sincerity because they picked the most brilliant.
Yeah, good, beautiful. The best should be offered to Krishna. And when you can do that, that's cool. That's very cool. You're good with Krishna when you offer him the best. Okay, we got some more. Thank you, Tisha. Acharya.
Yeah, the way I thought of it was that not just the Kaustubha jewel, but anything that the devotee offers to Krishna,
Good.
It's already Krishna's, and he's allowing
That's
us to
true.
offer it to him.
Right. It's like good.
Prabhupada would talk about, like in the Ganges worship,
Ganges.
that the worship is you're offering the Ganges water to the Ganges. So it's like that. And also in the chat, I just saw Caitlin also put it nicely, just like she wrote how a parent will give the child some money to buy a present for the parent. So the Kaustubha jewel is just an example, but everything we offer to Krishna is Krishna's, already Krishna's, and he's just letting us take part in that to purify ourselves.
I think because the Kaustubha gem is so famous for as Krishna, one of Krishna's gems too, that this little extra explanation from Vishwanath in the purport, devotees relish it because you can actually appreciate what he's doing with that special, with that something special to him is being involved.
Yeah.
So endearing. So endearing. Okay. Murari Thakur.
Other way around.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. You can use it in time. It's okay. It's okay.
Edition
So I'm just,
soul.
yeah.
I'm
Sorry. Please forgive me. So
This
I was
is your
thinking,
fault because you didn't tell us 5 years ago.
yes. So please forgive me.
Go on.
It was that. Okay. So I'm not sure if the Bhagavatam or the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where there's Krishna say, for sacrifices, whatever there is. I'm the object of sacrifice, but I'm the hymns,
I'm japa.
what the priests, the
I am
brahmanas,
Japa.
whatever is there, it is I, yeah. So the object of sacrifice is Krishna, but the ingredient, whatever, is he himself. So, that's wonderful, Krishna.
Yes, very nice.
Very good.
Thank you. Wait a minute, because you mentioned Japa. Because since Gita Jayanti, I'm reading about reading the Bhagavad Gita, and I love this that Krishna says, of sacrifices, I am Japa, chanting the holy names. That's what he is sacrifice. Of sacrifices, I am Japa. How cool is that? So when we're chanting Japa, specifically Japa, we are performing that sacrifice, which is Krishna. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, fortunate souls. Now, Chaitanya, would you like to read? Oh,
Hare
this is in-
Krishna, Dandava Pranams, everyone. Bhagavatamrita, Part 2, Abhishtalabh, the attainment of all desires. Text 220 through 254. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, 2:6, 220 to 222. Gopakumar continued. One day, while playing on the shore of the Yamuna, Lord Krishna, Nandanandana, heard that Kaliya had come back to his lake. Krishna rushed there alone, swiftly climbed a nipa tree, and dived into the lake, splashing water onto the shore. Krishna frolicked in the water, enjoying the sport of swimming back and forth and making all sorts of loud noises. But then he drew near the cruel Kaliya and out of curiosity allowed himself to be enveloped by the serpent's coils. Commentary. Krishna thought it wise not to bring his companions with him to Kaliya's lake, which had become poisoned again. He was also concerned that they might try to stop him from jumping into the lake. The vigorous way Krishna dived is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:16-7. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead landed in the serpent's lake, the snakes there became extremely agitated and began breathing heavily, further polluting it with volumes of poison. The force of the Lord's entrance into the lake made it overflow on all sides, and poisonous, fearsome waves flooded the surrounding lands up to a distance of 100 bow lengths. This is not at all amazing, however, for the Supreme Lord possesses infinite strength.
So this is Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. And this is a section of the Bhagavatamrita which is describing the same pastimes that we have been reading in the Bhagavatam. And that's why my husband thought it wise to include it. But do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we'll see as we go along some of the differences. I wanted to show, number one, kind of a comparison between how the acharyas, previous Gaudiya acharyas, Sanatana Goswami is certainly one of the empowered acharyas, personal associate of Lord Chaitanya, and he's including this pastime. So we'll see as we go through it some of the unique features that he emphasizes. Some of it's very similar, and you'll see, like just now, how he actually refers back to the Srimad Bhagavatam by using this description. So it's not that one acharya tries to outdo or up another acharya. They're very much in sync with one another, but may have some differences of taste or rasa, just like we read last time also. And Brihad Bhagavatamrita will include some more when it comes to Arista and Keshi. He also includes those in it. And we'll see some differences as we go along.
Okay. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna, I have a question. Is
Yeah.
this is not the same pastime happening again, or is it just the same pastime?
What happens is that this character, Gopakumar, there are two parts to Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And part one, Narada Muni travels around trying to find out who has the most mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And every single person that he comes to, a devotee, names another person who's had more mercy than they have. And in this way, he goes from earth and he goes up to the heavenly planets. Then he goes to Vaikuntha. Then he goes to Dwarka and finally ends up in Goloka Vrindavan. So the theme of the story of the whole book in both parts is to glorify that Swayam Bhagavan, Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami, very much emphasize that cowherd boy is Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. So in the second part, Gopakumar is another person. Instead of going place to place looking for one who has the mercy, he goes from various planets searching for forms of the Lord that are most dear to him. In the beginning of the book, he's given a mantra by his guru for the worship of Madan Gopal. and this is his Thai Bhava. So wherever he goes, if he doesn't, until he comes in contact with Madan Gopal, no matter what form of the Lord he comes across, he still feels that he has to keep going and progress. So here he's in Vrindavan, he's with the associates of Krishna, and as we'll see as the story progresses, there's some taste there, but also this is what happens. Even it happens again that Kaliya came back.
It happens again. That was the question.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the original question that she had.
Right. So that's
And
what it says.
I have that question
Thank
too.
you.
That it happens twice. First
Yes.
he's told to
He
leave,
came back.
and then he came back.
Right.
That was.
There it
seems
is.
like he came
Gopakumar.
back.
One said, while playing on the shore of the Jamuna, Lord Krishna Nandanana heard that Kaliya had
Kaliya.
come back to his lake.
So it is a second time.
Yes.
It's amazing. I had no
Yes,
idea
it is.
that it was someone gave an account of it, because my understanding is that Krishna's pastimes go on eternally. So these pastimes therefore are repeating over and over and over through our concept of time. And therefore each time it happens, it could happen a little differently according
Wonderful. Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and
It's ever fresh, always new,
Okay.
expanding.
oh
Tisha?
my God.
Thank you.
But this second return by Kaliya to the lake, is it in the Srimad Bhagavatam?
No.
There are some that it might be in a Bhagavatam in the higher planets. First of all, we have to understand that the Bhagavatam, the way it's revealed on this planet for our tiny little minds and intelligence, is not. I mean, although it's complete because everything absolute is complete within itself, there's more to it.
I think this is a good time to share a little more of the backstory of the Brihat Bhagavatamrita as well. The way the story opens, Brihat means great, and Bhagavatamrita means the nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the great nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what happens in the beginning of the book, Maharaj Parikshit has listened to the Srimad Bhagavatam by Sukadeva Goswami, and he was preparing to fast until his death. And from deep down in the crowd, way in the back, the figure of a woman walks forward and walks through all the sages and comes up to him, and it's his mother, Uttara. And she says, my dear son, because I was way in the back, because I'm a woman, I couldn't quite grasp all the things that Sukadeva Goswami has said to you. Please tell me what he said. And Maharaj Parikshit became overwhelmed and said, what a beautiful question. I was planning to fast, but because your question is so wonderful, I will share with you, and I'll tell it to you in a story form. So this is the story form that he is telling his mother after hearing the Bhagavatam.
This is actually the essence of the Bhagavatam.
Yes.
This is the essence.
Because
And
now
she said
he
in a
didn't
way
have
that I
7
can't-
days to repeat the whole thing.
Right, right. And his mother said, in a way that I can understand. He said,
yes.
so it has to, because he didn't have another 7 days. It had to be very concise. And it's magnificently presented by Sanatana Goswami, the Acharya, our Acharya. So this is like completely authorized and wonderful. Okay. Nanda, would you like to read for us? Let's see. Nanda, you must read for us. Where are
Yes,
you?
dear. Yeah, I'm here. It just
Okay,
takes
good. Okay,
my
sweet.
my. Okay, Brihat Bhagavatamrita 2, Volume 2, Chapter 6, text number 223 to 226. When Krishna's companions, the cowherd boys, saw that for no good reason he was gone, they all became as if struck down by death. In great anxiety to find him, they followed his footprints to the lake. These many young friends were the same boys who, losing sight of Krishna in the forest, on the forest paths, but for a moment would lose their will to live. And now, when they saw him motionless, they all fainted. All the village animals, the cows, the bulls, the calves, and also the animals of the forest stood on the shore, eyes fixed on Krishna's face, and their cries made a great roar of suffering. Birds, exhausted from loudly crying, flew precipitously into the lake. Trees and plants suddenly dried up, and many terrible, inauspicious omens appeared. Commentary. At first, the cowherd boys had no idea where Krishna might have gone, and they didn't know what to do. But soon they noticed footprints leading out of the village. Those footprints could not have been those of anyone but Krishna, because they had special marks, such as a flag and an elephant goad. The footprints led the boys to the lake, but there they saw Krishna immobilized and wrapped in the serpent's coils. When Krishna and the boys had been on excursions in the forest, and Krishna had passed for even a moment behind a tree, and the boys couldn't see him, the boys would lose all enthusiasm for living. And now, to see Kaliya about to kill Krishna filled them with dread. Oh,
Why
no.
don't you read the next one too, not then you can comment on it.
This is text 227 to 229. Inspired by Lord Krishna from within, one old man went running to the cowherd village. He wept and made dreadful cries of, "Alas, alas," and told the cowherds what was happening. The people of the cowherd village had already noticed many frightening omens. Krishna was the source of Vraja's good fortune, and the cowherds, frantic with concern for him, had already started out to seek him. The added force of the old man's report, spoken with a voice choking in his throat, struck them suddenly like a bolt of lightning. Commentary. Krishna is Prabhu, the Lord, so he can empower anyone to do anything. I'm going to read that one again. Krishna is Prabhu, the Lord, so he can empower some people. Nope, he can empower anyone to do anything. He made an old person his messenger, because an elder's words are less likely to interfere with anyone's intimate ras and more likely to be trusted. Actually, the desperation the Vrajavasis felt over seeing evil omens and having no news about Krishna was designed to increase their special love for him. Surely they would come quickly to Kaliya's lake when they learned he was there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That reminds me of Prabhupada, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what else you got to say about this Nanda?
There's just a few little key little phrases in there, especially the last part that I just read about. It was all designed by Krishna to increase the devotee's love. It was all, he's a supreme designer. So sometimes when we have traumatic situations or whatever, traumatic situations happen to us, our immediate reaction isn't thinking, this is Krishna's design for my benefit. It's not our immediate reaction. Usually our immediate reaction is, how can this be happening? Why I did this, I did that, and then why I don't deserve it, and this and that, and Krishna is so mean. But actually here, Sanatana Goswami and Srila Prabhupada often just try to point out, everything's designed by especially one, there's a phrase Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur uses, stepping into the threshold of the doorway of bhakti. That's for newcomers, for newcomers like us, stepping into that threshold of the door of bhakti. Sometimes we don't have all the proper siddhanta, we don't have the proper understanding of why things are happening, but actually a learned devotee understands, or we understand through the hard kicks of material nature designed by Krishna, that everything's happening everything's arranged by Prabhu, Krishna, the supreme controller of everything, but he's our friend. It's all for our benefit.
Mm.
It's a hard lesson to learn, but once one learns to see things like that, then everything becomes tolerable, or even, yeah, whatever.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
You're right. It's a pounding on our heads. Like Kali got the pounding. We're always getting pounded left and right. We're learning, and that's a very good example and an explanation how to tolerate this.
Yeah.
Chaita, thank you, Nandaji.
Hari Bol, thank you for that nice quote from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Nanda, appreciate that. I'm just wondering who is responsible for the commentaries, the purports in the Brihad Bhagavatam.
His name is Gopi Puranadana. He
Okay.
passed away a while back, but he's a Prabhupada disciple. He was one of the Sanskrit editors way back even in the 70s. Assisted Hridayananda Maharaj by translating all the commentaries, and then he would give them to him, and then he would go through them. So he's the one that actually, and it's a BBT publication that we're reading the commentaries by. But because Sanatana Goswami, his commentaries in particular, remember just earlier in a few purports ago, the word manusya, karya manusya, taking a human form, or it might mean this, or it might mean that, or it might mean that. There's like 4 or 5 different ways Sanskrit can be interpreted or translated. So that's how Sanatana Goswami writes. And in his preface to this translation, Gopi Puranadana explained that rather than keeping it chaste and putting in all these technical Sanskrit terms and how it's translated, I'm taking the liberty to write this with his main theme, rather than all the technical details. So it's Gopi Puranadana's commentary, basically.
But it's based on Sanatana Goswami.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking how advanced he is to come up with these insights, especially, for instance, here, the old man, why an elder man was chosen to deliver the message.
I think that might have been
psychology.
That would probably be Sanatana
Sanatana.
Goswami.
Most of this is based. The reason why I said chaste was he took the main point that was presented in the purports. These purports are Sanatana Goswami's
commentary on his own
their
book.
understanding on Hridayananda and Gopi Puranadana. They worked it to present it. But this is based.
No, it's actually Sanatana Goswami's commentary on Brihad Bhagavatamrita, called Digdarshini.
Okay.
There is separate from this?
Yes.
Now that would be something.
Well, it is. That's what he used. He used both of them.
Right. Charaji.
His Grace Gopi Puranadana Prabhu told me personally that more than 90% of the commentary is drawn directly from Sanatana Goswami's own commentary, and very rarely would he add, but occasionally, but very rarely.
He wasn't the type of editor or person to do that.
No, he wouldn't. Very chaste. He was very chaste to Prabhupada and the scriptures.
Before we go on, one other point. In this particular part of the story where we are, if you remember, there was a real nice forum back and forth, and so many devotees had written. The topic was the reaction of the Brijbasis when they heard this news and came and saw Krishna and all the Sanchari Babas. Chatamayi wrote one on that. Premananda wrote. There was some really nice meditations and realizations in this part of the. It's nice to review that. So let us continue with how that story progresses.
Okay. Manvantara, could you read for us?
But Julia Leela's also here. I don't know if she's going to read.
Okay, next.
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Balaram, who was sitting in his house, tried to console the people of Raj, who were running forward like living corpse. "This cannot be true," he cried out. "This cannot be true. Balaram somehow told his mother, Rohini, of the news, got her to stay back to watch the house, and ran to catch up with those who had left. He soon reached the lake. Seeing his younger brother in such a state, he couldn't keep his gravity and wept in the distress of love. As he lamented in ways that would shatter logs and stones, suddenly he fainted, just like Yashoda and Nanda. Then all living beings there made a great and fearful cry, full of agony, that made the whole universe cry in pain. Awakened by that tumult, Balaram, the most determined of heroes, with great effort steadied himself. A moment later, Krishna's parents again became conscious. Seeing their son in such a plight, they cried loudly and rushed to enter the lake. But powerful Sri Balaram held them back with the strength of his arms.
Okay, read this one too, Sri.
Seeing everyone unconscious on the ground as if dead, Balaram was overcome with sorrow. In a voice choked with emotion, he called out to Krishna. Sri Balaram said, "These are not the attendants who live with you in Vaikuntha. They are not the forest monkeys. They are not the Yadavas. These are your devotees of Gokul, who have no life other than you. They are dying, my lord, and there is nothing I can do to save them. O merciful Krishna, please give up this game before these devotees die. Otherwise, O Krishna, sole friend of the cowherds, your gentle heart will come to grief." Commentary. Here, Balaram reminds Krishna that the Gokul devotees are different from Krishna's other eternal associates, his Vaikuntha Prashadas, his monkey soldiers of Ayodhya, like Hanuman, and the Yadus of Dwarka, like Uddhava. More than all these other devotees, the Goloka Vasis are exclusively dependent on Krishna. The Lord's devotees in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, and Dwarka, being always aware of Krishna's omnipotence, managed to tolerate separation from him. And so they could have responded favorably to Balaram's consoling words. But the hearts of these Goloka Vasis, under the intolerable weight of their prema, have lost all equilibrium.
Wow, that's pretty intense. You have something to say about this? The comparison of these loves, different kinds of loves, is being explained.
Yeah, it is rather heavy, and yeah, I've been reading it and meditating on it. I can't find an analogy for it really, because I don't have it. But the commentary is nice. You know what I mean, in terms of delineating the different relationships and the different things.
Okay, read what my husband has highlighted. Read that.
The Lord's devotees in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, and Dwarka, being always aware of Krishna's omnipotence, managed to tolerate separation from him, and so they have responded they could have responded favorably to Balaram's consoling words.
Yeah,
that gives a hint. As we spoke before about this Brihat Bhagavatamrita and Uttara's question to Maharaj Pariksit, and Samapriya pointing out that this book is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. The essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is that there's no other place in any part of any creation or the spiritual world where the love and reciprocation between the little cowherd boy and his associates is so deep and so loving. Even here, he's saying Balaram's argument is, what are you doing? These are not the monkey soldiers. They're not the people of Dwarka. They're not the Goloka. They're not the people of Vaikuntha. These are your people in Goloka Vrindavan. Why are you doing this? They'll die because of their love being so strong. Whereas, aware of Krishna's omnipotence, the residents of Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Vaikuntha couldn't have mustered up such emotion because they know he's God.
Yeah, and he's not in danger. As soon as that relationship of feeling concern for the welfare of Krishna enters, that's a whole different rasa. This is what the Brijbasis feel. They want only for Krishna to be happy and safe and peaceful. That's what they want. They don't want to see anything. So they're not thinking that he's God, because they've already know that he's God, but that has been, in order to feel like you want Krishna's protection, that you want to protect Krishna, you first have to come to the stage of understanding that Krishna is the supreme. And with him, you have the most supreme relationship. Oh my goodness, this gets deeper and deeper. Okay. Tisha, why don't you read next? Thank you, Mamatarji.
Brihad Bhagavatam, Rita 2:6, 242, and 243. Suddenly the Lord stopped his self-invented sport and freed himself from the grip of Kaliya's coils. He climbed up on the serpent's thousands of upraised, outspread hoods and extended his lotus arms. Taking hold of all his beloved gopis at once, Krishna briskly raised them onto the hoods of the snake. Those hoods, delightfully swaying back and forth, appeared like rows of jeweled platforms, creating a most impressive sight. Krishna artfully danced with the gopis on those most amazing stages, accompanied by many celestial singers and musicians. Thus, Lord Krishna, the source of all amusement, enjoyed his rasa dance pastime. Commentary. Never before had anyone seen such stages for dancing as these. To complement the festivities, many demigods appeared in the sky overhead, singing and playing musical instruments. In this atmosphere, Krishna and the gopis fully enjoyed their dancing. The entire spectacle was created by the energies of Krishna, who is Kotukarnava, the source of all entertainment. Sri Nanda and the other older cowherds, slow to recover from their deep shock, did not witness this rasa dance.
See how many things Krishna that gets done at one time. They're all fainted. Good time for him to dance on the heads of Kali with his gopis. My goodness. What do you think, Tisha? What stands out for you?
I thought it was so sweet when I was listening to it in the car, that because I think Krishna's arms can't, a person's arms can't reach, but Krishna was able to grab all the gopis, no matter where they were, and bring them to the stage. And so I thought it just painted such a great image of Krishna. Yeah.
So you think that he could grab you somehow or another?
I hope so.
He can, definitely. Good. Anyone else have something to say about this wonderful feat of Krishna? Okay, let's go on. And Caitlin, would you like to read this? Charya, I asked you to read before several verses, so we're going to give other people, if that's all right with you. Okay, Kate, are you there?
Hare Krishna, yes.
Okay, wait 1 second. Let's see what Murari Thakur, is that right?
Thakur.
Yes, Thakur. Sorry.
Okay, Thakur. I'm just going to call you Thakur.
Yes, okay.
Okay,
So,
what do you have to say?
it was interesting. Yes, Balaram's is kind of mood in this pastime where he was lamenting. In some pastimes he's there smiling and so everything's okay. But in this pastime, for example, he's lamenting, and for example, I think in the Govardhan, that pastime we need to go Govardhan Hill, and Balaram is there. In some pastime, Balaram is he's standing back and encouraging, saying, it's okay, you don't need to be worried. But in this pastime, Balaram is there lamenting too, saying, Krishna, you have to see these persons, Yes, so it's interesting, Balaram's mood in this pastime.
Right. He fainted. Yeah. He fainted, and then the whole world started to crumble. Yes. That's really profound. Good. That's the love between Krishna and Balaram. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Caitlin.
Brihad Bhagavatamrita 2:6, 244 through 248. Nanda and the others on the shore, brought back to consciousness by Balaram, gazed at Krishna with delight and surprise. Having thus subdued the king of snakes, Krishna, grinning, seized the shawls of the serpent's wives, the Nagapatnis, who were offering him prayers. From these garments he made a long rein, and with his left hand playfully pierced the threaded Kalia's nose. Oh, pierced and threaded Kalia's nose. Mounting the serpent. Whoops. Mounting the serpent like a horse, Krishna toughly drove him forward, all the while with his right hand happily playing the flute. From time to time, Krishna forcefully urged Kalia on with the flute, as if it were a whip. Thus, he showered great mercy on Kalia by making that serpent his carrier. Maybe someone else should read the commentary.
Okay. Okay. Chaitya, you want to read?
Yes, thank you. Commentary. Having to carry Krishna like a horse is hardly a degrading punishment. Only rare souls like Garuda can have the honor of being the Supreme Lord's carriers. As the Nagapatnis stated in their prayers to Krishna in the 10th canto, 10:16:34, what you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give to the wicked certainly drives away all their contamination. Indeed, because this conditioned soul, our husband, is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent, your anger toward him is obviously to be understood as your mercy.
That's amazing. Let's just go on reading, and at the end we'll talk. Ian, Thakur, please read. Thank you,
You
Chaitanya.
can still use it. Yeah. So we had Bhagavatamrita 249 to 250. Nagapatnis offered Krishna clothing, fragrant paste, flower garlands, and precious jeweled ornaments. And Krishna placed them on the serpent's hoods. Then with the Padma, Utpala, and other lotus flowers, those wives had brought to offer him from Yamuna, and with the same ornaments, he had Anadiput and Kalia. Krishna decorated the gopis and himself. Commentary. When the Nagapatnis presented the ornaments to Krishna, he did not immediately put them on his own body. First, he placed them on Kalia's hoods, and then, while he and the gopis were still standing on the hoods, he decorated the gopis and himself.
I wonder why. That's going to be for Nanda, the last verse, Bhante.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'll keep that in mind, and we're going to discuss after this whole thing, Thakur. Now, Nanda, would you read? Thank you, Thakur. We're going to discuss this after. Nandaji?
Coming. Okay. 252 to 254. While the king of the serpents with his countless mouths recited prayers to Krishna, Krishna emerged from the lake, making all his friends and family dance with joy. Together with a troop of young cowherd girls, most amazing Krishna dismounted Kalia. The serpent was filled with happiness, for he had obtained great favors and benedictions, difficult even for Garuda to achieve. Krishna was drenched by a flood of joyful tears from the eyes of Nanda and others, who absorbed themselves in worshiping and embracing him again and again. Krishna then mercifully gave the king of the serpents some instructions and exiled him from the lake. Out of sheer spontaneous joy, the throng of cowherd men and women celebrated a charming festival of music, song, and other expressions of gaiety. Completely satisfied, Krishna returned to his village. Commentary. Krishna had good reason to be satisfied, for his Kalia had good reason to be satisfied, for his heads had been graced by the presence of Krishna and the gopis. And Krishna offered him other benedictions, including the boon that Kaliya's hoods would always bear the auspicious marks of Krishna's feet. Krishna is the most amazing person because he shows such kindness even to wicked creatures like Kaliya. Hare
Oh, my goodness. Hare Krishna. Okay, so now let's have a discussion on all these different verses. But one question, Pati, where does it say that sometimes Krishna, was that in the Brihad, that sometimes Krishna, when he comes and he arrives to, Kamsa calls him to attend the wrestling match, he rides Kali. Sometimes that's one of his vehicles. He rides Kali.
We read that earlier in Sarartha Darshini at the very end of the chapter. The Puranas state that in different kalpa, when Kamsa orders Krishna to come to Mathura for the wrestling match, the Lord sometimes goes there sitting on Kaliya.
Yes, he rides him like a horse.
Yeah.
This is so, these pastimes of Krishna are amazing. Okay, so Nanda, why don't you tell us something about what you read, and anyone else, please pay attention and see if we can have a little discussion about this.
I was just going to comment on the very last sentence of the commentary that Krishna is amazing. And one of the things that it said, because he so shows such kindness even to wicked creatures like Kaliya.
Oh boy.
So then it's like, it gives us hope.
Exactly.
Oh, nice.
Exactly.
Very
Very good. Thank you. Acharya?
I love the contrast between the two Kaliya incidents. It's fun and it's instructive that, just like if you beat up a bully and then the bully comes back again, you're going to beat him up even more. So Krishna not only danced on his hood, but he invited the women to also dance on his hoods. And in one sense, you could say humiliating him by, threading his nose, the cloth as a rein, and making him hoarse. So in one sense, it's a worse beating and a worse humiliation, but at the same time, the mercy is even more. And it's not described in the second one. It's not described that his hoods were broken and he was bleeding and puking and passing out. Kaliya seemed fine with it the second time. And he got, in the first pastime, he got the benediction, okay, Garuda won't kill you anymore. But this time he got a benediction to become equal with Garuda, who is after all his cousin also. So just the contrast between these two pastimes is so awesome. And you could also maybe see that, Kali has really come a long way in his journey from the start. So it's really sweet to see that, I thought.
Yeah, it's sweet. I wonder if he came a long way, but why did he come back? I wonder why he came back. I mean, he knew he was going to more mercy, or that was kind of feisty.
I have an idea, but it's all, I like to speculate too much. So
I don't speculate. I want the absolute truth. Okay. How much speculating is it? Because no one else has anything.
I just think it's, it was a willing cooperation, or it may have been a willing cooperation with Krishna.
Well, obviously, we've already discussed that nothing
even
happened
more than the
without
first one. But that, like I said, that's me speculating.
Okay.
That's
Chaita.
right. Yeah.
Haribol. Haribol, I agree with Acharya that this second time around is an escalation of the first incident. There's so many amazing things. I mean, the rasa dance on the heads of the snake. The other thought occurs to me that why Krishna used the saris of the Nagapatnis to create the reins. That's instructive because it indicates that this Kaliya needs to be guided by, like a rein. He needs to be guided by the words of the Nagapatnis.
Very nice. The saris were offerings. They were the offerings that were being given by the Nagapatnis. Just 1 minute before Thakur speaks, Madhurya Leela, she came in a little late, and then I didn't get it together to get her to read. Would you like to say something, Madhurya? I don't know. Madhurya Leela. Okay, she's not there. Okay, Thakur Murari.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Yes.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh.
How about the way? Wait, Thakur. Yes, Madhurya, would you like to say
Well,
something about this?
I think this pastime of Kali is very instructive for all of us, and it's also very shows us the unlimited mercy that Krishna gives us. And you know, he really gets it out of us. You know, keeps working on us, doesn't give up. It's like he did with Kalia. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. Good. And as Acharya mentioned before, he identifies with Kalia. I don't think any one of us wouldn't identify with Kalia. It's very, very instructive. Thank you, Madhurya ji. Okay, Thakur.
Okay, so the question is now, why did Krishna not use those offerings immediately but gave it to the Nagapatnis? And then I think I have a question there that the offerings were not used by Krishna immediately, but I think in one of the verses, yes, they were given to Nagapatnis before. I think I don't remember exactly what it said, but the offerings weren't used by him immediately.
They weren't used immediately, and he used them for the gopis.
No,
He
so I'm
dressed the
thinking-
gopis.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, I'm thinking that maybe it's not maybe some sort of nullified whatever other maybe latent reaction, whatever. You know, maybe just to get some special mercy by the devotee. So I'm thinking maybe that's
Interesting.
why, you know.
Hati,
So,
what do you think about that?
The devotee is
Not real
Krishna's
sure.
hand,
Kind
you
of
know.
just go along with
Maybe.
the description. When they offered them, rather than putting them on himself immediately, he put them on the hoods, and then later on took them
Yeah.
and decorated everybody and himself. But pretty much.
Maybe he just wanted to have a festival with the gopis, and he
Yeah.
wanted to offer it to his devotees.
It's also
Yeah, okay.
interesting that the celestial beings came. I mean, Krishna is such an enjoyer. Here he is on the dancing on the hoods of the snake, and the celestials come and start playing music in the heavens, so that there's a big concert, and it's a big rasa dance on his hoods. It's fantastic. I love that section. One of the reasons I put it in so I could read it again.
Okay, wait, Thakur, did you want to say something else, Prabhu? I'm sorry.
That's not what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think we'll finish up there.
Okay.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See
Happy
you
New Year.
January in January.
Yeah.
Be
Bye.
happy
Happy
and healthy and safe.
Yeah, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo, Jai
Thank you.
Krishna.
Vanchakapatubhyascha,
Krishna,
Kripasindhuvya,
Kripasindhuvya, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo.
Are you
Thank
making
you.
your holiday goodies,
Yeah.
Dhruva Maharaj and Sampriya? Are
What's
you making your
that?
holiday
Yeah,
goodies?
No.
Make your holiday what?
Goodies.
Your
No,
goodies that you used to make.
Hare Krishna.
no,
This
don't
was
do
a
that
goodie
anymore.
enough, I think. Okay, sweetie. Hare Krishna.
Bye.